I'm your friend, Dr. Charles Apoki. The political situation in Nigeria is becoming very, very interesting. And a lot of ideas and theories are being propounded, predictions and all that. Let me just tell you about life in general. Structureless organizations are very difficult to defeat. Take it to the bank. Structureless organizations are very difficult to defeat. A hurricane does not start with a structure. It is just a collision between warm air and cold air, and then there is thunderstorm, and these small movements of rain over warm water, usually in the Atlantic Ocean, gathers momentum and it starts to spin and gradually forms a body, and it can move at a terrific speed and pull down structures. So political movements usually that will cause change do not start with big structures. Big structures are cumbersome. Big structures are like big trailers. They are difficult to push to start. But these kind of movements that start without real structures are very difficult to contain. If you take the Taliban, for example, it was just a movement of students who felt disgruntled, who felt bad about the system, about the structures. Most times structures are put in place to regiment people, to oppress people. They are put in place to confine people and to fossilize people and to prevent. That's why they will say party is supreme. You dare not disagree with them. You dare not go against them. In fact, your intellect is suspended in very complex structures. The Taliban started as a movement in Afghanistan, and the Russians invaded Afghanistan. The Taliban resisted the Russians, and the Russians had to pull out of Afghanistan. The United States invaded Afghanistan. The Taliban, ordinary students, usually not trained in military academies, without barracks, without tangible, visible structure, but they have a passion and a desire to salvage their nation and to propagate a brand of Islam. I might not approve of that. I'm just doing political theory. Remember, I have a master's degree in public administration, so I'm not talking as a medical doctor, a pastor. I know what I'm talking about. So, Afghanistan, the Taliban resisted the Americans with all their complex structures, organizational structures, military hardware, and America had to pull out in a hurry. America invaded Vietnam. The Vietnamese were ill-equipped. The Vietnamese had only one thing on their side: passion and a resistance against the occupation of their nation. And they dug tunnels under the ground. They built new cities with different types of infrastructure underneath the earth. They resisted America, and America withdrew. So big structures do not necessarily turn to efficiency and productivity. Big structures sometimes are unnecessarily expensive. Big structures will now fulfill Parkinson's law of frivolities. Sometimes so much energy is spent on the officials and the big structures and whatever. So it is better sometimes to be structureless. It's difficult to confine you. It's difficult to contain you. The crisis of Fulani herdsmen in Nigeria is structureless. They just have a tribal inclination and a tribal solidarity. You touch one somewhere, the others will react somewhere. So it's been difficult for the Nigerian army to quell the other crises of banditry in this country. Number one, sometimes big structures lack the will. Big structures have contrarian thought processes. This one is thinking from this direction, this one is thinking from this direction. This one's interest is weighing against this one's interest. And the resultant effect is stagnation. And big structures sometimes do not produce results, even in your personal life. So we've not been able to defeat banditry. We've not been able to defeat herdsmen terrorizing people in our states, in our communities. We've not been able to handle internet fraud in this country because it is structureless. You don't know where they are. They are in their HK, they are in their small flats. You'll be arresting small units. But the thing is there. It's a phenomenon. It's a complex phenomenon that some people have embraced to make wealth, though illegitimately. So, structures are not necessarily translated to strength. It is passion that is translated to strength. In the Bay of Pigs War of 1961, America backed a Cuban exile general that went to Miami, Florida, and 1,500 American soldiers with planes, with tanks and all that invaded the western coast of Cuba. And Cuba responded with 200,000 militiamen, not regular soldiers, some of them just carried any kind of weapon they could carry. Militia. What a movement needs to succeed is men who volunteer and who are passionate. This must not happen. So, and they had 9,000 policemen with arms against American invaders with planes, with tanks and sophisticated equipment, with satellite and all that. The Americans were killed, some were arrested, some were executed, and they fled. Some American ships sank. Cuba, small country. So, I'm not saying that structures don't matter. In emergencies, in revolutions, in times of difficulties, when people are pushed to the wall, they don't need structures. They just need the passion of the people, need the vision, and you will see that the structures will start coalescing around the people. It's like when you want to crystallize a salt from a solution, any salt. What you need to do is drop some piece of that salt, some crystals of that salt into the solution. Those crystals will gradually accumulate and attract more crystals upon themselves and form a structure. It's like the way pearls are formed in oysters. One grain of sand, and then the oyster will start reacting to it and be secreting calcified material around it. After a time, a pearl forms. What we need in Nigeria is a realization that this is not the way this country is supposed to be. In my street here, the street of my school, an oil-producing community, the youths of the community were the ones who brought materials to fill the potholes. I had to Ovigwe Ubaruba paid money for the things to be spread, and I'm going to refund some part of the money. I and Ovigwe Ubaruba citizens have to do our road, and we have a government. Afisere Junction, the same thing. Oveto Junction, the same thing. I found I was in Benin to pass the bypass. No road. Trucks everywhere. I was able to pass because I had an armed escort. But the problem with this country is that all those of us who have these privileges don't feel the pain of the people. Sometimes we speak on behalf of those who oppress us because we have shortcuts to escape the pains of the people. I got to a phone roundabout, another hold-up. And by the time I got home, my blood pressure was high. After a full roundabout, it was touts that were controlling traffic. no policeman, no structure on ground. At the Benin bypass, it was youths, young men that were controlling traffic. The structure was not on ground. Nothing. And we can't continue like this. Our children are at home. We're talking about structure. Our country is being milked dry. We're talking about structure. I was discussing with my son in Germany. He said that after doing surgery for his patients, when he goes to meet them and tell them that he did the surgery, they are usually very amazed that he's a young Nigerian. And when they discuss with him about Nigeria, it's usually the bad news from this part of the country, from the country, that they know about Nigeria overseas. So even if you run overseas, the bad news from here will follow you like the order of Moab. And when we have an opportunity and when we have a man that comes with an ideology, an attitude. Somebody saw him, we saw him rolling his bag. Some people say it's pretense. He did that when he went to see Odumegwu Ojukwu in Texas, in the United States. He carried his luggage himself. Most Barack Obama holds his umbrella. It's only in Nigeria here, the wife of a local government chairman will have a graduate holding umbrella over her head. We have gotten too used to stupidity, gotten too used to oppression, we've gotten too used to being slaves and being raped, that we are now suffering from the Stockholm syndrome. Only mentally, that is to say, if you don't have relatives, you don't have reasonable people in your family, that even if it's a madman that you have as your brother, he becomes precious in your sight. That is the problem we have in Nigeria. We have had so much political trauma. We've had so much oppression. We've had so much pain and deprivation that we are addicted to suffering and pain. And even the persons that want to help us, we quarrel with them. Peter Obi brings in fresh air. Peter Obi is different from what we have on ground. He is not an angel, but at least he is above average. Let's start with him. Let's work with him. People say that Christians are becoming too vociferous in talking about Peter Obi in the church. Why won't we become vociferous? Don't people preach in the mosque? Have they not threatened you that they will go to war? Have they not told you that burning people who blaspheme is normal and they will continue to do it? Have they not told you that you cannot drive their headsmen away from your farms who rape your mothers? Have they not told you that any person that touches a Fulani, that he owes a debt? Have your governors not gone to campaign during primaries and said he refused to sign the open grazing bill not to offend the Fulanis? Why must we be the ones that are killed, the ones that are offended in this country, and we produce the wealth of this nation and we keep quiet? When you are more civil, when you behave like a civilized person in the midst of tyranny, in the midst of oppression, and in the midst of threats to your life, you are a fool. You are a coward. When the rules of a game change your dance and change your play. We live in a country where gradually Christians are becoming second-class citizens, are being treated like trash, and we have docile and tyrannical, what will I call them? Betrayers who want to sell the commonwealth of the body of Christ to a few individuals because they want to occupy positions. The time has come when Christians in this nation, if they must not be treated like trash, they must stand up and say, we have a voice. Peter Obi might not win this election. He must not win this election. But he has started a movement that will outlive him. A movement that it is possible for good men to stand their ground and then people will rally around them. The choices you will make, those you will support, are a reflection of your values. When I see people talk on social media, a lot of them are too young to understand what I enjoyed in my generation. In my generation, I ate cornflakes in school. I ate Quaker oats in school. I ate chicken in school. In my generation, when you were at FGC Warri and you were going back to Sokoto, they paid your transport fare to Sokoto. I I ate a cow every day at Government College Ughelli. But they will slaughter the cow. Maybe not every day, but they will slaughter a cow for us to eat. And when we finish eating, there are extra stuff like the bones and whatever with meat that we can eat. At FGC Warri, we went for extra meals. Today, we pay exorbitantly for private schools. I didn't go to a private school. I went to the University of Ibadan on merit. I didn't need to know the Vice Chancellor. While in the University of Ibadan, somebody was cleaning my room. He was a Baptist minister. Let me not forget, at Government College, they washed clothes for me, gave me Dettol, gave me tissue paper, and I was able to school with the children of the elite. But today, the poor are pushed to the background, no social justice. The king of Saudi Arabia used to come to my medical school for treatment, which is send his family for treatment in my school, University College Hospital Ibadan. Today, your presidents fly overseas to go and spend their money to treat themselves. Some of those who want to rule you now live in Dubai. They live in London. They only come every 4 years to want to rule over you and enslave you. And you tolerate it and you defend them. They told us when we were young that we are the leaders of tomorrow. But the same people who told us they desire to rule me at this age of 63 and rule over my children. When will your stupidity stop? When will your foolishness of defending those who rape and kill you stop? Enough is enough. We need men who will stand up and speak, who are not afraid to support what is right. Peter Obi might not win the election. He doesn't need to win it, but he has won our hearts. He has won my heart. He has won my heart. And when you win the hearts of men, a time will come when your vision will succeed. But we are not giving up. We will support what is right. If you are a pastor listening to me, they are coming to our churches to kill us now. Speak up. Speak up. Don't be afraid of the politician that is attending your church. Speak up. The day people will come and shoot in your church, bullets don't conduct interview. They don't ask whether you are PDP or APC, whether you are a politician or whether you are a poor man. This nation is at a precipice. Let us not behave like the people in the Titanic. When the Titanic was sinking, the men in the upper deck were playing music and dancing. And they didn't provide life jackets for the poor. There was no life jackets for the poor. And so when the poor were struggling to jump into the sea, they died. While the elite on top, they were dancing and drinking champagne, but they all died. All died. Oh, the Titanic had structure. The man who built the Titanic in 1912 said, even God cannot sink this ship. God did not need to intervene. Only the ship hit an iceberg and sank. And recently they wanted to excavate the Titanic again. The cranes broke. Anything that stands against God, stands against good, God will pull it down. Any structure that stands against the good of this nation, against the future of our children, against the future of our great-grandchildren, God will pull it down. And we will pull it down. It's a time to raise your voice and take your stand. I remain your friend, Dr. Charles Apoki. Don't tell me to leave politics for politicians. Don't tell me that nonsense talk. Who is a politician? Who is a politician? According to David Easton, politics is authoritative allocation of resources. So the person that determines what I get, my allocation, I shouldn't talk. Nonsense talk. Harold Lansman said politics is who gets what, when, and how much. In my community, we have 24 oil wells. Go and reach that place backward. Go to the just speaking areas where the oil comes from. Go to the Shakiri areas where the oil comes from. Backwards. A few thieves and crooks corner our money to their pockets. And you say I should not talk. I don't need to be a political candidate, but I'm a politician because I'm a human being and I have brain. Don't tell me that trash. We left it for you for many years. What have you people done? Put us into debt. Put us into the backbone of human capital development. Every statistic that is wrong is about Nigeria. Stop that nonsense. We are angry. The time has come for change. God, whether structure or no structure, the time has come for change. I remain your friend, whether you like it or not, Dr. Charles Apoki.